Hello. So, welcome to today's episode of Creating a Buzz About Health. And I'm going live on YouTube today. So, I'm experimenting. So, I know you won't get to hear the intro music, but hopefully, you will get all the value from this episode. So, today, what I really wanted to talk about is my new course, Spiritual Beekeeping. So, the book came out in October last year, and I've been building a community on School, Skool, and it's been really, really exciting. And I've got beekeepers now from all around the world. And what I'm finding, both from school and from my own work elsewhere, is there's a growing desire to learn more about bees in a more spiritual way. And that is how I work with bees. It's how I've always worked with bees, and it's really developed over the last 15 years. And as I was putting together this course, there was people saying, right, when are you going to do the course? We need to do the course on spiritual beekeeping. And I was looking through the modules. How do I break it down? How do I explain what I know and what I've been learning? And I was tuning into this and thinking, actually, what I really know is how the bees work. And the bees share wisdom. They just share it. They just learn something and it goes within the whole hive. And what I wanted to do was, rather than have a series of courses like my other courses where I present, I do a lecture basically and say, well, this is about pests and diseases, or this is how you catch a swarm, and all of this kind of stuff. What I wanted to do with this course is be more collaborative and actually work like the bees. So having the community, so everyone who's interested in this learning, coming together and sharing their wisdom and their insights. Because through being in business masterminds, I really understand how you can have this collective. Say you have 5 people. When you've got 5 people discussing a problem, you actually get a 6th wisdom coming into the pot, and we can all tune into that. So you would have 5 people having this problem, and as you discuss it and as you consider it, this whole new insight comes in. And this is the magic of masterminding, or the hive mind. So with a beehive, you'll have 50,000 bees, and they use this hive mind, particularly when they're choosing a new place to live, if they're swarming. And what will happen is you'll have scout bees that will go out and they'll be looking for new places to live. And then they will come back to the hive. They'll do a dance and explain, well, look, I found a tree hollow, or I found an empty beehive. And they'll describe the space, and they'll describe, what it could be used for, how long it could be used for, where the location is. And then other scout bees will go out and check it out, and they'll each come back and they'll do their dance, and they'll go, okay, yeah, I can see why you like it, but I found somewhere better. Or were you aware there's a hole in the back? Or were you aware that, there's no food in that proximity? And so then the hive as a whole will come up with a decision and go, okay, we'll go to that hive, or we'll go somewhere else. And this is what I want to do with this course, or this is what I am doing with this course. So that we don't just all gather and talk about our own bees and have no structure. The hive has a structure. It has its wax comb. So what I'm going to be doing is starting each session with a wax comb, which will be the questions that we are going to ponder. And the course has been structured to go throughout the year, tuning in with what's actually happening with my bees and bees in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's very relatable, but all the recordings will be available. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, then we'll get to you at some point, but it's all relative. And so the questions for the first session are, what is spiritual beekeeping and why it is important? And in this, it's spiritual beekeeping for a lot of people just makes sense. They just get it straight away. It's spiritual and it's beekeeping. But when you put it into practice, why is this important? Now, quite a lot of the work I've done has been about calling back bees. And we know, if you've been watching the news, bees are dying all over the place. And there isn't a one reason why they're dying. But what I am seeing is that a lot of the causes of them dying is that lack of spiritual connection with the bees and with the land that they're living in. So the bees can no longer survive in such an environment. So we're going to be talking about why that matters. Why do we have to stop feeling this sort of separateness of bees and humans, or bees and the land and the environment, and actually start connecting with it? So then the next question is inside the cluster during winter. So we will be diving deep, meditating, looking at why is the cluster important in winter, how we can support the cluster, and what is happening spiritually while the bees are in this cluster. So that's second question. Another really important topic with a lot of beekeepers through the winter months is insulation versus ventilation. Now, some hives have mesh floors, and they were introduced really as a measure to help count how many vermites you have when you use chemical treatments. Before that time, we always had solid floors, but you would have ways of allowing air into the hive, so you could shut down the entrances or opening them up. And what I'd like to do is discuss this, sharing our own personal findings and also sharing what we've learned from bees where they've not had us helping them. So do bees prefer to have good insulation, or do they really want ventilation? So we'll look at that. And related to that is torpor. This is where the bees through the winter months are in this cluster. It's not a full hibernation, but it is a state of restricted movement, restricted behavior. So we will be looking at torpor. What does that mean? Maybe even experiencing it through a meditation. We'll also be looking at the queen. What is her role in the winter months? Why are the bees so why do they focus around the queen? What is the queen giving to the hive during the winter months? We'll be exploring that. And the final question for the first session, so we've got an action-packed first session, is connecting with your bees. So teaching and sharing how each of us connect with our bees, what works, what actually helps you communicate and listen to the bees and receive the messages they're trying to pass on to you. So we've got quite an action-packed first session, and perhaps we'll actually start with connecting with the bees rather than going deep diving into various aspects of the hive and management. And I'm so excited about running a course this way. And it's been inspired through being involved with school. And I set up my community. I set up Creating a Buzz About Health in August, and then I rebranded to Spiritual Beekeeping in October by the time I'd understood a bit more about the platform. And what I love about school is this vibrancy, this real fantastic energy from all the people who are in it, but not just members, but also the founders. And they have a weekly news where they will share what is actually happening with, with all the communities and how they're upgrading the platform. And the priority to help people connect with community, that is their thing. And the way that they share how communities build, how communities share information, it's so related to the bees. And this is what I really, really get excited about, because I've seen how the bees work. I'm learning how the bees work. I'm experiencing how the bees work. And I've been feeling that as humans, we've really got to start working more like the bees. And then when we had our time on Cocos, I could see a community that were living like the bees and sharing everything, sharing their food, really taking care of each other. And as humans, as we move into 2026 and we move into a new era, the Chinese horoscope, we've had the year of the snake and all that shedding, and now we're moving into the fire horse. We've got astrologically all kinds of crazy things happening. This is a really important time for humanity. And many of us are feeling this shift. We're feeling we need to move away from fear, negativity, wars, all these awful things. And we actually need to rebuild society. We need to rebuild community. And I feel that the bees are showing us exactly how we can do that. So I am inviting you to be part of this movement where we are learning about the bees in a spiritual way so that we can take that away and look after our bees in a more spiritual way. And I am so excited about sharing all the wisdom that I have, but also sharing the wisdom that so many of my members have also been experiencing. So we start live on Thursday, 29th of January, and it's in the platform school. All the recordings will be in there for members. So I would love to have you join us along. And I'm just going to share the link so that you can join. And I look forward to seeing you there. So it's a short, brief podcast, but if I don't tell you what I'm doing, how are you going to know? So I look forward to seeing you either in school or on the course. And I've also set up a whole a series of live in-person workshops too. So you can find them on my website, which is just paulacarnell.com. So thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you inside school and really creating a buzz as we learn together. Thanks very much. Bye for now.